It's Dr. Renee with the Ask Dr. Renee show. And in case you've never watched the show before, this show is here to motivate and inspire you to live the life you deserve. Because let's face it, we only have one. This is not a dress rehearsal. This is literally the only one we have. So we might as well do it up, right? And do it up big. So my guest today, oh my Lord, I'm so excited to talk to him. So you guys know, usually I know my guest very well. I don't know him very well, but I know what I saw in his EPK and what I already knew from being his Facebook friend for years, actually. And I'll let him know how I ended up being his Facebook friend, but because he doesn't even know that. We had some technical difficulties, you guys, so I didn't get my usual producer intro in the beginning. So you guys are just gonna see it all right here. So first of all, everyone, please make sure you share the broadcast. So please share. I don't care where you're watching. Make sure you share. The party is at YouTube. And that's where the video will be live. I mean, will be permanently, is at YouTube. And on the other outlets, you'll just have little snippets. But the entire thing will be at YouTube. So please come visit us at YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so you know when I post new videos. And it's April 2nd. I hope nobody had gotten really badly fooled yesterday, April 1st. And welcome to April. And there's a lot going on in April and even more in May. And I can't wait to talk to my guest today. So without further ado, and I forgot to even clarify how to say his name. See, this is all because we had technical difficulties. So we are going to bring DoRohn, and I hope I said that right, to the stage.
How are you, Dr. Renee?
How do I say your name?
DoRohn.
DoRohn. See,
DoRohn,
said it
yeah.
wrong. And you know
Yeah.
what? Someone near and dear to me's name is DoRohn, so I'll never forget that. So first of all, I always ask everyone, what did you want to be when you were growing up?
I wanted to, I wanted to make it to the NBA. I wanted to be a basketball player. That was my first initial dream. But needless to say, the day I was born was the day a record label was named after me. So it's not something that I chose. It just literally chose me, and I just didn't even have a choice. So here we are.
So I know that in your EPK, I saw that you were self-taught on a lot of instruments, and then you were given lessons on some others. So what was your first instrument?
I started playing the drums when I was 2 years old, and then went on from there. Coming up in the school ranks, I joined the orchestra, and so that's where my love for string arrangements and movie scores and just that whole entire thing kind of started at that young age. And then by the time I was 10 or 11, 12 years old, well, I have to go back because, first of all, let me just say this. uh, the three F's, I represent my family, my friends, and my foundation, which pretty much I come from a legacy. My dad, David Gough, who is was everything to me. He was my very first music executive. He literally told me what I would be doing for the rest of my life. And so, literally, from that particular standpoint, when you think about it, it was even as I was coming up in the school ranks. My first name is David, just like his, and so he says, Dave, all you got to do is your schoolwork, keep practicing, and get in that studio and continue to be creative as a producer. It's all you need to be focusing on right now. And as a kid, I'm like, okay. So that was it. And him always being a people person, just always seeking out different opportunities in the music industry. Even as a father, he would have this radio station that was known as 97.1 Joy FM, which was the easy listening station. And that
Yes.
was growing up in the 80s. That was anywhere from Frank Sinatra on this radio station to the hottest record at that time, which was Thriller, Michael Jackson, and everything in between. Country music, I was exposed to it all. David Foster, the music producer, Quincy Jones, just a big conglomerate of all kinds of music, both black and white. And that's where my love for songwriting had sparked. Because as a kid, I didn't know didn't understand what they were talking about love
Right.
or whatever case may be. I just remember how the music made me feel, and being in the back, I would act like I was conducting the orchestra, or I would act like I was actually playing the piano right there in the back seat, and didn't know what was happening to me. I was being affected like Spider-Man, so to speak. So, and my dad was the one that did that. So, we owned as a family. We owned a studio for like 20 years as a record label, right there on 6 Mile and off of 3 blocks off of Southfield Freeway. This is all in Michigan. So if you're not from
Oh, of
Michigan,
course.
you don't know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. But that literally, we did a lot from there under my dad's regime, under the whole DOROHN Entertainment umbrella and DOROHN Records. We were named by Billboard magazine as one of the top five record independent record labels in the entire world, which was a big, huge deal for my dad and for us. As one of the producers working at the label under his leadership, and even DOROHN Entertainment was a factor for him to want to impact culture. So just even outside of the music, for him, he wanted to get into movies and fashion, everything like that, and so that's what he did. Matter of fact, most people probably don't know this, but um, he was executive producer of a movie, a partner with a film director out of Atlanta, and there was this film that they produced called "Pay the Price." It was the story of a hazing that was going on in a lot of your marching bands in a lot of your black colleges. So your drum band, drum majors, and
Drumline
all
and
that.
all that. Yeah.
So there was a friend of the director that was on set, the guy by name of Dallas Austin. You may have heard of him. And
Maybe.
so he was there, and then he went back to 20th Century Fox, and then they produced a movie all of a sudden that came out the same year called Drumline.
But I
And
remember the other one because
yes,
it was like a documentary kind of a thing, right?
yes. Oh, no,
I
no, it wasn't a
was it,
documentary. It was
but it
actually
was.
a movie. It had
Oh,
some of the
okay.
same actors that was in
Okay.
Drumline
Okay.
in our movie. And it was a big lawsuit that wouldn't happen. And
Yeah.
what occurred was just astronomical. Later on, we didn't find out, but they ended up paying off everybody because they had the money to pay off the judges and the lawyers and everything. So literally, it was just one of those sad ripoffs. But I say all that to say that we've done a lot under my father's leadership, and then he passed away in 2017,
Okay. Sorry to
and
hear that.
everything was transferred over to me as a son. Before I even got to that moment in 2017, my career as a producer had took off.
Right.
uh, had the pleasure, my very first as a keyboard player. My very first major gig was I took a break from school and went to Eastern Michigan University, and my first gig was playing for Whitney Houston's last world tour. What I didn't know would be her last world tour in 1999.
Wow.
So
So
that was,
I go to a lot of concerts. I never saw Whitney live.
yeah. It is everything that you would even imagine on all of those early records. She's the real deal. She's the
Yeah.
real deal. And without getting into any discrepancies or what she may
Right.
have gotten into, her gift was as authentic as you can recall it.
Right.
And that's what I remember about
So
her.
wait, I just have to just say. So you are from Detroit, and as much as people like to say Detroit is a small town, it's not really, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Detroit, and everyone's like, I mean, yes, Motown, but Motown was many years ago. So how did you end up on Whitney Houston's world tour?
Yeah, great question. I told you my dad has been in the
Right.
industry, and so of course we had a mainstay studio, and we had a lot of different people come in through those studio doors. Red Hot Chili Peppers used to cut there at our studio before we even owned it. It's a very historic
Okay.
studio that we had owned, and so there were some mentors of mine that came in. A guy by the name of two brothers, Kern and Valdez Brantley, and Valdez I had I've heard of both of them,
Right.
and of course they were always as a young producer, as a young aspiring musician, they were always like the guys in Detroit. They were like the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis on the live production side, right? So, for the last 30 to 40 years, you're talking about um, Beyonce,
Mm-hmm.
Destiny's Child, Lady Gaga, Usher. Valdez was musical director for Usher for the last 20 something odd years. I was with him the day he got the call from Jermaine Dupri back in 1997, and they produced, of course, Mary J. Blige show, and just whoever was Biggie Smalls when he was popping, and even to current now. I mean, these were the guys that the industry were calling to be able to put on their live tours and live shows. And so they came into our studio, and the day he came into our studio, my brother came and got me, says, "Hey, Kern and Valdez are in the control room," and I'm practicing. So I remember I picked up a notepad and a pencil, went into the control room. I said hello to Kern, but I was even more fascinated as an inspired keyboard player by Valdez because he played the keyboard and he's a fantastic, amazing keyboardist and producer. And I just remember going up to him. I said, "Listen, my name is DOROHN Gough. I'm an aspiring music producer and music musician. I would love it if you would just autograph my book." And he looked at me, laughed, and he said, "Man, put that thing away, man. We're gonna be good." And for the next 10 years, he took me under his wing and mentored me. And it was because of him, of course, and his brother Kern, that I was able to land such a big ordeal. And I credit those guys because they did not have to do that.
Right.
But they
But
saw some.
I always say Detroiters are that's so Detroit though,
Yeah,
because Detroiters are just cool like that.
absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
I always saw Lonnie Love at Essence Festival, and I was backstage, and they were going to go on. They were getting ready to go on stage. The Real was going to be at
Yeah.
Essence, and she literally turned around and came back and talked to me like for like 10 minutes.
Wow.
And I'm just like, but everyone's over there getting ready to go on. Why is she standing here with me? And she's like, oh, Dr. Renee. Da, da, da. I was just like, oh my
Yeah.
God. I mean, she just cool as a fan. When I went to the Real, she told the showrunner, that girl needs a picture with all of us. And I had some friends with me, so I asked, could they come too? Because she goes,
Wow.
Lonnie told me to come get you. And I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay. But
yeah.
that's the way she just, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Detroiters are just, they look out for their own. I love that. The funniest thing is that I met Kern Bradley because what you don't know is I had a soiree in the music industry, and I
Yes.
met him in Chicago, and I forgot what event it was. Had no clue the man was from Detroit till I read your thing. I go, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That has always been the mystery about them. How are they, being able to do this, getting from Detroit? And most people don't think they're from Detroit
That
until
I had
they
no
actually tell
idea.
them. Yeah, for
And I
sure.
can't remember for the life of me what we were at, but I know I met him.
Yeah,
And I'm just like, and I think I've emailed him too. But
you probably
so
have.
my my soiree was my sister and I, we have an entertainment company, Matthews Entertainment Group and Associates LLC. Mega now does more PR stuff only, and
Nice.
most of the PR is for medical professionals like myself. And I work with other doctors, and actually there's a soap and deodorant that has commercials that I see all the time now. I'm so excited. That was
Wow.
my one of my clients. I was like, wow.
Amazing.
But
Amazing.
so that's what we do now. But we had a little known artist named Lady T,
Okay.
who was 15 when I met her at Cass Tech, and we worked with her. That was our first client, and we worked with her. She blew up 106 in Park twice. I mean, they
Yeah,
were
I
like they
remember
never
listening.
seen anything like it. The audience, and then Twitter, she was trending. It was crazy.
Wow.
The radio stations loved in Detroit loved her, but then she just started getting, and then the craziest thing was when she was in I forget the name of the magazine or whatever it was, but it was about the Pitchfork Music Festival, and they compared her to Little Mama. I was like,
Oh,
we
wow.
arrived.
Yeah.
I was like, we did this. I did this. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, so that's when I used to, obviously I was at everything in Chicago and wherever, and but that was my little soiree in the music industry. So we managed and did PR for her.
amazing.
Yeah, so
Good.
it was a lot of fun. It was crazy, but it
A
was
lot of
fun.
work, I'm sure.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, "This is why I can't do it now," because I was like, "I'm too old." I was like I mean, mind you, I had a full-time job, and I had my business on the side, and I was like,
Oh,
"I don't
wow.
sleep, like, I am up all night." But, you know, because we did that, I was able to become publicist for Chico DeBarge, and then, most recently, and I'm sure you know him, Stephen Russell Hartz was one of my clients.
Yeah,
I did
yeah,
PR for Troop, and,
yeah.
he's still a dear friend. So, so yeah, that because of that little Lady T, all these other people did end up seeing what I could do and what I did, and
Yeah,
so you know.
that's amazing,
Mhm.
and kudos to you. That has to speak to the, spirit of excellence that you always represent, because one thing always leads to the next,
Yeah, you're
and,
right.
and especially in this business, so
Yeah.
that's amazing.
But that's awesome to do a world tour with Whitney Houston.
Yeah, that was the start of it, and then after that, I served as, the keyboardist for a group called 112,
A
that
group
was
called
trying to.
112? Like,
I'm
nothing.
sorry. I don't like assuming anything.
No, I
Yeah.
mean, but we're clearly the same age and
Yeah, there you
around the
go, there
same
you
age.
go.
So huge 112 fan also. As a matter of fact, the first time I saw them, they opened for Kelly Price
Yeah, yeah.
at Shane Park.
Oh, wow.
That was the first time I saw them. And
Yeah.
we were like in the second row or something, and I was just in heaven. In heaven. And now Melinda Santiago, I don't know if she still does, but she
Yes.
managed them, and I'm actually friends with her. So
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah.
no, she manages a good friend of mine, Marcus Divine.
Uh,
Yeah, for sure, but no, from there, I just knew that solidified, from a professional standpoint, that, yeah, this is what I wanna do for the rest of my life, is in the whole totality of what the music industry represents. I had such a great time, and, walked from Eastern, um, and then there was this new kid on the block in 2005, 2006, Chris Brown, and
oh, and
so
Steve did a lot of stuff with Chris Brown.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, 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 one of the writers, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, but if you remember in 2006, there was like this new wave of artists. It was Chris Brown, it was Rihanna, it was Neo,
Trey
it was Lil
Songs was
Wayne,
then
Trey
too. Yeah.
Songz,
Hmm.
right? And so, uh, me being on the road, it was happening right before my very eyes. I'm like, I didn't realize that this was like this new conglomerate of artists that was getting ready to impact the world. And so literally when Chris was going, and then finally we became the one band for both Chris and Neil. They were headlining the same tour. And so obviously that's when my relationship with Neil had really started connecting. And he found out I was a producer, and push came to shove, he kept, he was asking for a CD from me, and I kept giving it to him. He kept losing it. The management would get it from me, and they would lose it. And so I never will forget. After the third time, we're at the Jay Leno show. Jay Leno was like the Jimmy Kimmel of,
Yeah.
So we're at the Jay Leno show on the lot at lunch, and he's asking for it again. And so, I'm like, bro, come on, man, like, what's going on? And mind you, this is in the span of 5 to 6 months, so we're traveling the world. There's a lot going on. So he's trying to chew up his food, and then all of a sudden he says to me, he's waiting, has a finger up and says, "Wait a minute, hold on, you know, there." I'm very serious, because there's this one on there, that CD that you have on there, that I'm really feeling. And he started humming the melody of the actual instrumental track. Now, I knew I had to be blown away at this point, because
Right.
I'm thinking to myself, as much music that comes across your desk, as many artists, it's like, you remember that? You have to be serious. And he gave me his personal information, phone number, and email. He says, send it directly to me, send nobody else. I did that. 2 weeks later, he ends up coming back, emailing me back and says, I wrote a smash to the one I was talking about. Either Michael or Jana's going to do it. Now, if anybody knows anything, you don't have to say the last name of who those two names I just said.
Right.
You know who we're talking about.
Right.
And then at that point, he says, hey, do you have any management? How would you like to come over to the Compound? Now, Compound was the subsidiary, his label, under the whole Def Jam Universal umbrella. And even at that time, I didn't know that I was one of the first producers that was being signed to this new label. So everything was just happening so new for me. And Smoke Clear, it was Janet ended up doing the record. They were fighting over the record, actually. That's what
Janet
happened.
and Michael?
Janet and Michael was fighting over the record. And the record is now known today to the entire world as Can't Be Good.
That is, and if you guys, we can't play songs on here because we're not going to have YouTube snubbing my videos, but I will put the link in the box below. But you guys, Can't Be Good is the reason why he's on the show. I was like, I'm just scrolling through Facebook when the Janet Jackson documentary came on. Everyone's talking about their memories of Janet. And he posts, and I go, wait, what? And I'm reading, and I go, oh my God, this man's worked with Janet Jackson. Yeah. And then when I saw the hashtag Can't Be Good, I go, oh my God. I used to listen to Can't Be Good every night on repeat when I went to bed. I loved that song. And you know the first time I ever heard it, because a lot of people were like, huh? I was riding with my mom. My mom is a retired priest, but we're riding Easter. I came home because I told you I live in Chicago. So I came home and we're Easter. It was Easter like that week. And that's a very holy week for us Episcopalians. And so it was late at night. And so it was dark. And so I said, so I rode with her, or I drove her, and my sister was in the other vehicle with my dad. And, you know, we're driving, and it was on 92.3.
Oh, wow.
And I was in the passenger seat, and I go, what is this? I go, that is Janet Jackson. And I turned it up and was like, I've never heard this song.
Yeah, yeah.
And then after that, I was like, okay, and I have so many CDs. It's ridiculous. But I'm a creature of only listening to what I know and not discovering new songs.
Yeah, yeah.
So I figured out what CD it was on and was like, oh, we have that. And, you know, and then, like I said, it's over after that. I would listen to it. I love that song. So that's why I was like, I sent him a message. I posted on his post. It was like, you need to be on my show. And at the time, really I hadn't done a show in a very long time. My last show was in July of last year. I did a show with Jason Weaver. And then I just took this long break. And so we had a whole month of March. We had one show in February. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get it together. And so I didn't say anything to him. He came and inboxed me. It was like, here's my information. I was like, okay, Alicia, I really have to have this man on my show because now I put it out there. But the reason I'm going to tell you, the reason why I followed you on Facebook is because I saw, I think your brother post. Your brother is married to Courtney, right?
Yes, yes.
Courtney, besides the fact that she is a good family friend's niece, she lived down the hall from me at Michigan State.
Wow, amazing. My wife graduated from Michigan State too, Sharita.
Oh, green.
Yes, yes.
So, yeah. So she lived in 4 East Wilson. She lived right at the door at the end. I know exactly which room on the other side of the hall from me, and it was after we figured out she went to Michigan State, and then we spend Christmas Eve with this family every year. And he mentioned his niece went to Michigan State. We were like, well, who is she? Come to find out, we were like, she lives down the hall. Oh boy. So yeah, small world. So Courtney, you know, she posts on Facebook. We're Facebook friends, and somehow either she shared or your brother shared the whole thing about Compound, and I was like, there's a Detroiter working with Mia. And so I was like, well, I'll just try to Facebook friend him, see what happens. And you accepted. So I was like, so I just been sitting back and watching all the magic happen.
Yeah. You know, let me share, since Can't Be Good is seems to be a very, very favorite of you, one of your favorites.
Yes.
I want to share this story because, you know, I tell you, as long as I've been doing music, and I'll be celebrating my 30th year professionally, doing music, you know, some of the things that, you know, God has allowed me to partake, you just would never believe. So when I had did the track 4 years prior to the record even getting to Janet and L.A. Reid at the time. And so, of course, like I told you, Neil had wrote to it, and all of a sudden, um, they got the record, right. Uh, by the time they got the record, they were already 9 to 10 records done with the project, and she was already rehearsing for a tour, and she had a tour already scheduled. You know, they got the record, heard the record, loved it so much, they ended up canceling the tour. They canceled all rehearsals. They scrapped the entire project. This is during the time she was with then boyfriend Jermaine Dupri, who was producing the record, the entire
Right.
project. They end up scrapping everything and says this is the new direction we need to go in, and all the records need to be on this level. And I'll never forget. There was a big, you know, announcement on radio. And during the time, we're still on the road with Neo. So I think I was back at home in Detroit, taking a break maybe for about 2 weeks before we had to go back overseas somewhere. And all of a sudden, this radio announcement: Jermaine Dupri backs off of girlfriend's Janet Jackson project to, and then all of a sudden he said, "Yeah, I want to give some new producers a chance to be able to see how they feel about Jan and this, that, and the other." So I'm like, I wonder what happened. Now, and then finally Neo's manager uh and partner ends up calling me later that weekend. He said, "You do know what happened, right?" I said, "No." He said, "Yeah, they got your record. They were already scheduled, had all tour plans, and they scrapped everything. They scrapped the entire album, scrapped the entire rehearsals and the tour because of your record. They say they need to go in a new direction." And that was a wild moment for me.
Right.
Once again, it's one of those God moments, that you just can't explain. And I wasn't even signed when the that was the thing. I wasn't even signed
Right.
with the label at the time. And so of course from there we just started doing a whole lot of records. I ended up working with Day 26. I was in the studio with them in Atlanta, and we did a record called Then There's You. Started working on records for Neo. Obviously, we did like maybe for the Libra Scale album was like maybe 4 or 5 records, and only 2 had made it. But the one that I'm most noted for was a record called Champagne Life. That is, of course, been Grammy nominated, and even got picked up by another genre that got Grammy nominated, right? So, that was a pretty huge thing. And of course, I was with Compound maybe about 6 years, and I felt like after that time, it was time for me to kind of step out on my own. And they understood, and they were very gracious towards, for me to be a part of what they had going on. But I knew that, before all these opportunities started happening, I made a promise to God that, if He would allow me to have the opportunity, that I will make sure that there will be a season that I will remain planted there in Michigan, there in Detroit, so that others can be able to benefit, and that I could be able to give an offer for others to be able to, other artists, other creatives as well. And because there was not that avenue for me,
Right.
so to speak, as a producer, what have you. Because what was happening back in the day when I was coming up, most of the producers and songwriters, they would get the opportunity and they would uproot themselves from Michigan and go
New
where the
York or
opportunity was, right?
California or Atlanta.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I knew that I wanted to do something different. And so here we are today,
Yeah.
the CEO of DOROHN Records and DOROHN Entertainment. We started another entertainment company that we kind of using the corporate band, wedding band, and private party band kind of model, but still as an industry vet, using that to see who connects with people as artists or what have you, and then taking those artists and starting to flip that into mainstream pop. And so this year we'll be launching another record label, not discontinuing what we're doing, but we've been doing a lot of. We signed a new artist, Deshandra, who we're extremely excited about on the DOROHN Records label. And she is a phenomenal gift. If you haven't checked her out, please, by all means, she is amazing. We just, because of the fantastic year we had with her, we decided to keep DOROHN Records as a gospel label,
Okay.
and CCM or whatever, inspirational. And this new label that's getting ready to be released this year sometime, will be Banjay Records, and that will be a lot of the other genres that we want to focus in on because we have a lot of talent that we're extremely highly interested in, that we're developing, and we're really excited about it.
Awesome. Well, I have to go back. Champagne Life is my jam too.
Yes.
And when I read that, I was like, "Oh my goodness." So I don't remember what age I was turning, but I remember that song was like popping. I'm a Virgo and it had like just come out or something. And I remember driving and turning it up and was just in heaven because that is just a jam.
Well, I have another story if you like to hear it.
Sure. Yes, yes,
Concern,
yes.
concerning that record in particular, because that was a defining moment for me. And I know I kind of gazed over this, but this was back in, I think the record had dropped in 2010. So 2009 was what the whole discrepancy between Chris Brown and Rihanna ended up taking place, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
At the Grammys. And so I knew as a business person, everybody was down because those are our friends.
Hmm.
Chris, we knew Chris, Neo knew Rihanna. So when it happened, we were kind of wild out about it, and we were right across the street from the Grammys because we had to do the Grammy after party with Neo, and so we just kind of all stay in the circle, and everybody was down. But immediately, I shook that down, and so I was like, "Shoot, I need to get on one of these projects because this is going to be a big sale for them." So I was thinking along those lines quickly, and I never forget. I worked my tail off, knowing that I had a chance, an opportunity to get on one of those projects. Push came to shove, and I was not selected for the Rihanna Rated R project. Good friend of mine, Chuck Harmony, was. He was also signed to Compound, and
He worked with Chrisette Michelle.
yes, yes,
Yes, I know them well too.
yep, yep. Him and Claude Kelly, even to this day, they're still a dynamic duo. So literally, I was hurt, Renee, Dr. Renee. I was extremely hurt to the point I was shedding real tears.
Oh no.
Yeah. And I literally was thinking about quitting the music industry because I just knew the work that I had put in for those several months leading up to that moment. And my brother, Devin, he knew how hurt I was. And so he gave me an ultimatum. He said, listen, either you can, you know, sit there and soak in your tears, or you can just suck it up and get back in the studio and show them that they made a huge mistake. And it made a lot of sense to me. I literally I did the latter, obviously. So,
Right.
and then from that point on, I got back in the studio, and I just remember going in there with a mindset saying, "Okay, this time I'm not going to do music to try and fit any rules or try to do music for what I think other people would like. I'm gonna do music for myself. I want to do music that I want to hear on radio." And I never will forget did a track and I labeled it "Fabulous Life." I knew it sounded nothing like on the radio. It was it was kind of like my ode to Brazilian bossa nova, which is one of my
Oh,
very
okay.
favorite styles of music to listen to. The way they hear is just something amazing. Like one note can lead to so many different chord structures, and it's just melodically, it's like you're in your fork heaven, right? And so I knew that it was different, and I just put it away. And even had a friend who's, uh, going on now. His name's Marlon McKinney, and he told me, he says, "I don't know, man. I'm a big fan of your music, but it's just something real different about this." He's like, "It's something special about it," and that's he told me that. Sent it off to Neo. Didn't think nothing of it. Me and Neo connected again, and he said, "Oh, by the way, that one track you did, Fabulous Life, don't you get that to nobody." And the next thing I knew, there was a big war in within Def Jam. They released Beautiful Monster. It came and it went. Literally, like they wanted that to be the first single, and it was probably one of Neo's not one of his most unpopular records, I should say. But so they wanted to hurry up and rush to see what the next record was going to be. And so it was between Champagne Life and One in a Million. And L.A. Reid was deciding, was trying to say, well, which way should I go? And so one side was on Def Jam was saying it needs to be One in a Million because the safe is what sounds what's on radio right now. And another half said, the other half said Champagne Life because it's nothing like we've ever heard before. And they picked One in a Million at first over the weekend, and then he came back that following Monday or Tuesday and says, you know what, let's not be safe. Let's go ahead and change radio. Either we're going to win big, or we're going to lose big. Whatever's going to be, it's going to be big. And that's how Champagne Life was chosen as the second single, and we were extremely excited about it. I mean, I just remember just they were playing this thing in every region of the states,
So, I mean,
and
it's a jam.
and it was just one of those things where I go back to the fact that I was ready to quit the
Quit.
industry. And so I would like to encourage anybody who is, you know, may not be seeing things the way that you want to see them in your profession. Use that as a moment to kind of push even further and deeper, because if it's for you and this is what you're supposed to be doing, it's going to work. It's going to
Hmm.
work. And all you need, what my dad will always say, he says, Dave, all you need is just one.
Yeah, good. Exactly.
That's all you need is just one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, especially when I was doing PR so heavy, I'm like, I quit. I quit.
Yeah.
I'm done. As a matter of fact, I had pitched the BET Awards and I couldn't get anyone to say anything. And I was like, I quit. I have a medical doctorate. I
Yeah.
could be doing something else. I think that I should just go on and do that. And I remember I called my friend and she was like, Renee, you're gonna be fine. I was like, I quit. I'm going to
Yeah.
start looking for jobs. I am done with this. This is for the birds. And then I swear it was the same week. I got an email from Stephen Hill. And if you all don't
Mm,
know who Stephen Hill is, he was the head of BET for a long time.
yes.
And he emailed me personally and said, you can tell anybody that you are responsible for this. And if you all remember, and I can't remember the year, but it was the throwback moment with Troop and Color Me Bad
Mm,
and Silk. And what
yes.
I had told him was Troop and Silk. So they threw in the Color Me Bad, but I said Troop and Silk should be the throwback moment.
Oh wow. See, you know, I make this part of my whole, you know, vision.
Hmm.
Just really, we are to be impact. We are to impact culture,
Right.
and literally that needs to be the goal every day. Most people will want to ask me, well, DoRohn, you've done all these things, what's next? And the thing about it is for me, um as a CEO of a company, and as a visionary for the most part, my thing is to literally impact culture. Whatever Walt Disney did, whatever the guys over at Universal, Sony, and Warner Brothers, what have you. That's the vision. That's the goal, and that's what we're doing in the process of doing right now. Walt Disney was so good in animation,
Hmm.
and then you have all of these factors that surround that little thing, which of course became a mouse, right? And
Right.
so um, I just really fully believe that, because this one factor that I've been focusing on is just creating and making great music, that everything else that comes along with it. You talk about theme parks, you talk about resorts, hotels, different things of that nature, because I'm in the business of developing characters, but I have to also find where those characters need to thrive and live.
Hmm.
And so for me, that's exactly that's what our goal is every day, is making sure that we become the conglomerate that these characters can be able to thrive and live.
Yeah, and I always say most amazing people come from Detroit. People are like, Detroit. And I'm like, you don't understand. Um, it's like, my friend Brian Smiley was on the show, and he is the head of Heartbeat Productions, as in
Yes.
Kevin Hart. He's from Detroit. He wears his Detroit hat I think if every time you see a picture of him, interview with him and Kevin, he has on his D. And
Midwest is the best.
exactly, exactly. And then I know you worked with the Clark sisters. My friend Christine Swanson, who's been on the show twice, she directed the Clark sisters movie that was on Lifetime,
Yeah, wow. Yeah,
and she's from Detroit.
Yeah, well, my history goes back with the Clarksons back with actually when I was in college. Karen had recommended me to do the show or help put Dorinda Clark Cole's show
Right.
together back when I was in college. And then fast forward, I got received a call from a good friend of mine, Jay Drew, and he wanted me to do a remix record for the record that was featuring Snoop Dogg. By the way, shout out to Jay Drew, who just him and Kiera just won the first siblings to win Songwriters of the Year at BMI, which of course I'm affiliated songwriter with, and so he provided that opportunity and whatever, and just things just kept happening. I had a chance to work with David Foster under his regime, and with for an international artist. Which was a pretty huge deal. You
Right.
talk about an artist that most people here in the States may not know. JJ Lynn is like the equivalent of Michael Jackson over in the Asian states, right? So he performs in front of like 100,000 people every night. And we were able to help produce that show. But literally, it was because of that when I started doing that that I decided, well, if we're doing all this stuff, type concerts from a national, international standpoint, why when I come home, to local events and I see local talent, there's a big
And put
huge
them on the stage
disconnect.
like that. Hmm.
Absolutely. So that literally became my goal, and we've been at this thing for going on in the fifth year, and it's just taken off. And because somebody decided to do something that most people would not have taken the chance to do, for
Yeah.
real.
And I mean, it's crazy, but it's just like even Chicago. Chicago had Kanye, and if anybody watched Genius, Kanye did not hit it and make it until he left Chicago.
Yeah, yeah,
Same
yeah.
thing with Common.
That's right.
And
That's right.
so,
That's right.
and so it's great that you were like, wait a minute, let me come back and let's do this.
Listen,
And I will
if
say, Common has a school. He started a school in Chicago. I think it's middle school. Don't quote
mm,
me, but he started an actual, grammar school that kids are
that's
going
awesome.
to, and and being able to be creative and learn all these different things and stuff. So, and shout out to his mother, Dr. Hines.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm a big fan of that, of being able to come back because, what are we doing this for?
Right. Right.
Why else are we doing this if we're not being able to go back and reach back for somebody else? That for some reason it just becomes um, mundane.
Right.
And I would tell I'm 44 now, so in the first or 39 years of my life, I was looking for opportunities, right? This year, in the back half of that, now is for me to provide opportunities, and that's all I'm doing. That's my focus, and so developing relationships plays a key factor in that,
Yes, of course.
for sure, and so I'm always forward thinking. I'm always forward thinking to thinking about what's next. Magic Johnson tells a story of Dr. Jerry Buss, who was the owner of the LA Lakers, and before he passed away, he was always called Magic. Says, "Hey, congratulations on owning that new business. Or congratulations on opening that new theater. Congratulations on any other." But he would never. He said, well, the strange thing about it, he would never get allowed Magic to get comfortable in the celebration. He says, "Congratulations on that Starbucks. What's next?" Immediately,
Hmm.
immediately. And I like the statement that the great Wayne Gretzky says. He says, "I skate towards." He's a hockey player, right?
Yep.
"I
Red
skate
Wings, right?
towards
No?
the LA Kings."
Thank you.
One of the
See?
definitely no worries.
I don't do sports. Okay.
He uses hockey as an analogy or a metaphor. He says, "I skate towards where the puck is going, not where the puck has been." Right.
Ah,
So literally, I just feel like we're at a moment and we're at a time where we always need to be forward thinking and always thinking about the generation behind us, representing the generations before us to show that they actually made great investment. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. It's just crazy though. I mean, there's so much richness in Detroit. As a matter of fact, Aretha Franklin's granddaughter was on American Idol the other day. I was just like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Ain't that something?
Right. But it's we got to keep it moving. And I'm so excited because there's so many great things happening in Detroit. The Motown Museum, the plans that they have for that build, the whole block and everything is going to be amazing. And I mean, the place was already amazing because of what it did and what it had,
Yeah.
but it's going to be like really ridiculous, when they
Oh,
finish it.
well, let me tell you, there's some things I'm a part of now that I really can't talk about. That is about to be literally earth shattering. When it comes down to Detroit, I'm extremely excited. I really am. You know, and it's time. It's time.
It's time. It
It's
is
time.
time. Like I remember because I'm 45, so I remember some years ago we all were like, "Oh, it's coming," and then it just never quite panned out. But I'm like,
Yeah.
like, we
No.
got this. We got and like everyone's downtown now. As far as the Red Wings, all of them are downtown.
Yeah.
We got football, we got baseball, we got basketball. Everybody is right there,
I love it.
and yeah, there's just so many great things that can happen. We just have to just keep it moving because there's just so much. And then I really hope because at one point they were starting to film a lot here. If they would
Yeah.
bring that back, that'd be great too.
No, I believe it is on its way back.
Okay. Because
And
like I said, I'm in Chicago, and actually there's a show coming out April 10th on A&E that actually shot on my block.
really,
So
so did
great.
you have to move?
No, so what that was the funny part. I was moving
Oh
and
wow.
and they were like, and we pull up and there was a police car and they're like, you can't go. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't go? And so the Uber is like, so I get out of the Uber and I go talk to the man and he was a nice officer and he's like, so they're shooting and you can't. And I go, right now they're filming? He's like, right now. And he's like, I go, but the moving truck is around the corner. He goes, okay, well, let me help you. And so he took all the bags I had in Uber so the Uber
Yeah.
could leave. And we walked and he ended up walking me around so I could tell the, movers were, it was so funny. But everyone's like, well, did you find out what they were shooting? I said, you guys, I had bigger fish to fry. Hello. I have a whole
No,
truck of stuff. Like my stuff needs
I
to be moved in.
understand.
So I didn't pay attention. I ended up asking someone after the fact. I think I emailed the realtor or texter and said, girl, I was shooting here last night. It was filming something. The lights were on. I mean, I was like 1 o'clock in the morning. They were still out there. And she was like, so I've heard that Michael B. Jordan's been spotted in the neighborhood.
Oh
And I go,
wow.
what? She was
Yeah.
like, yeah. And I said, oh. And so then I ended up putting two and two together, and this is a show that I'm not sure he's on it, but he's producing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, 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 no. Listen,
yeah.
I'm
But Chicago, that's the way it is all the time. Like I
yeah.
was walking down the street and saw several of the people from Chicago Fire. We watch Chicago Wednesday night faithfully in this house. So
Yeah.
I was like, I called my mom. I go, you'll never believe who I just said hello to.
Wow.
But I mean, you see trailers all the time in Chicago, and
Yeah.
they're always you need to read the signs because there are signs all the time that say you can't park here this time to this time because they're filming.
Mm.
And I mean, that would be great for Detroit. It would be awesome.
Oh, let me tell you something. Well, first of all, shout out, Power is I'm a huge
Yes.
fan of
And
that
I was very
series.
excited about that. That was awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And the storyline in the current Power story now, the Power 4 takes place in
In
Chicago, right?
Chicago, yes.
Yeah. So that's pretty huge.
Yeah.
I'm very, very, very hopeful, even beyond hopeful,
Yeah.
very confident that things are returning back to Detroit, and it's going to be even beyond what the glory days of Motown actually happen. I'm telling you, the meetings that I'm a part of, the things that people are setting up. It is very, very great. It's going to be a great mainstay for just a great mainstay of opportunity
Right.
for a lot of creative people. So just to be
Yeah.
continued.
Exactly.
for all intent purposes, for
Yeah.
sure.
And Black Mafia family. Oh my Jesus Lord.
I
I
love
have
that.
never been
See,
so
wait,
excited to watch something on television.
hold on,
When they
hold on.
started that first one and played that music, I said, "Oh my God."
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
literally had to get up and start dancing. I was like, "Oh my God, this
Yeah,
is amazing."
yeah. That is so. Here, let me just say this. You know, I
And to
didn't.
see a Detroiter behind it, that's the
Yeah,
best part. Yeah.
yeah. I have to say this. I'm a big, huge Power fan, but not for the reasons why people think. So yeah, the story's cool, and
Right.
it has a lot of famous people in it, and what have you. But, I didn't come up in that world, right?
Right.
So, I grew up in Southfield. It's a suburb of Detroit,
Right.
right?
Farmington Hills, suburb of
Yeah,
Detroit.
yeah,
Exactly.
listen. So that's what it was. And so the intriguing thing for me, I think the drive, what I love about that show and just everything is the drive that they have. Yes, they're doing illegal things. Let's make that very clear.
Right.
But the the drive in I think is what intrigues me,
Well, I've
right?
always said a lot of those people, if they had put their minds, Jay-Z, to good
Yes,
things, look at the amazing things they could do.
absolutely,
And Jay-Z
absolutely.
and Biggie, and that there are, well,
Dame
Jay-Z
Dash,
really because and business.
absolutely.
I mean, oh my God,
Yep, yep. For me that's really what the motivation is.
yeah, the
Uh,
focus. It's like,
every
how
day,
did you come up with this? And how
every
did
day.
you, I mean, like when you watch New Jack City, you're like, did you, I mean, when he had the whole building, and it's like, really?
Absolutely, absolutely.
But put that towards something good, my God.
And
What
and
could you
literally
do?
literally, like, I'm ecstatic because my day-to-day has even grown now. Uh, it used to be all about just, creative music, and it still is. A
Right.
great portion of it is, but now it's really so diversified, because I'm first of all, you gotta definitely have to have favor, but you gotta have some money. Ain't no way around it. Like, let's just call it spade a spade. You gotta have some money to do what you really want to do in living color.
Right.
Seriously. And so yeah, that show just does a lot for me, uh, for all intents and purposes. So
Yeah.
yeah, I like it. I really, I appreciate the creative spirit of 50 Cent. Um,
Yeah,
you got to
he's
give that
killing
man
it.
kudos
He is
for sure.
he's another one. My
Yes,
sister just said Nas. I mean, all these people that just,
absolutely.
Nas, I think he's into all of he's invested in all this, like he invested in Ring.
Yeah, and see the thing about it is they've all taken the approach. What I like, Warren Buffett. Now Warren
Uh-huh.
Buffett, you Berkshire Hathaway.
Yep.
Now we know Geico, we know Heinz, we know Fruit of Balloons. We know all of these different brands, but most people don't know that he is the reason why they exist and why they thrive. Right?
Mhm.
Dairy Queen and just to your point of making mention about Nas and all
Right.
these others, like you don't know, and that is what I've taken a liking to. Just being quiet,
Right.
unassuming,
Have no idea that they are
none,
behind this and they're,
absolutely,
yeah. Like Carol's daughter, Jay-Z and Jada Pink, a whole bunch of
yeah,
people invested to make sure that she, made it.
yes, yes, yes.
So you're right,
So
and it's
yeah.
it's amazing that, and Warren Buffett is birthday is the same day as my man mentioned.
Oh wow, what is your
Yes,
birthday?
August 30th. Let
Really?
me just
Okay.
tell you that there is statistics that say most millionaires are Virgos. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But yeah, Warren Buffett has the same birthday as me, and he Berkshire Hathaway. I hope to go to a meeting one day.
Yeah,
I'm working
yeah.
on it. I think it'll be in the very very near future.
Well, you better make sure
Because
you contact me.
I've been
'Cause
talking
I
to the
want to
right
be.
people, and yeah, and so I was like, I just need to get me a share, a piece of a share
Yeah.
of Berkshire Hathaway, and I'll be good.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's really impressive, and I think, and like just like me, I in the pandemic, I learned so much about money. and
Yeah.
how to make it without having to work for it. And I was
Yes.
like, oh my God, there's
Yes.
this, I can do this, I can do that. And so we've had several shows about that too, if anyone is interested. Because
Mm,
I trade options and I trade futures now.
good. Good.
And it has been a game changer.
Mm.
So, and I love that more Black people, especially our age and younger, are talking about money and stuff, because that's how you can affect change, is with money.
Listen, my
That's how
dad,
we can save the youth and all of this stuff.
my father-in-law, Jerome Edmondson, he always says this. He says, turn your contacts into contracts.
Oh, I like that.
You know, that's something that stuck with me for a lot of years. And I've been making sure that I do that. If the relationship is a relationship, then it should be relating for you. Relating income, relating your best life, just relating to everything that what it is that you want to do. And if it's not being beneficial, then it doesn't need to be a contact in your phone. So, like literally, like it needs to be. And I'm not saying monetary all the time or anything,
No, yeah.
but it just needs to be beneficial in some kind of way, right?
Well, you know what? Reverend Marvin Winans came to Michigan State, and I think it was just in our dormitory even. He had this discussion and he said, you have a bank account. And some people make a whole lot of deposits and some make a whole lot of withdrawals. You
Ah,
need to make sure that the people in your life are not overdrawing their
yeah.
accounts.
Oh wow.
So if they are overdrawing, then you probably need to just, be with different people, because you can't sit there and always be giving and giving. And he wasn't talking about money. He
Yeah,
was talking about
very
people
true.
who will literally suck the life out of you. And you're
Oh
like,
wow.
I can't help you anymore. I have given you all the advice in the world. You're not listening. And just, and so I completely understand it's not always money. It can simply be that little stuff with your energy and your,
Yeah, yeah. You know,
so
I literally, I'm thankful because I just know that now everything that I do, I put it in my Google Calendar, so it keeps me on point, right? Writing things down of my day keeps me on track, because you have to understand, like, I remember when I was 14. I remember when I was 24. I remember when I was 34. I'm now 44,
right.
and I don't have time to waste. Like I
Amen.
don't. Like I
Amen.
don't. It just
You
we
did you
have
hear
to.
me at the start of the show? This is not a dress rehearsal.
Yeah, that's right. Which that statement is very true. And thank
You
you for
got to
saying
do
that.
it. You got to do it now. And I keep telling people, don't say, "Well, I can't." Yes, you can.
Yeah,
You just need to figure out how to get it done.
that's right.
And you don't have to figure it all out up front.
That's right.
That's where
That's
faith
right.
comes in. If you could just
Absolutely.
do this little bit, I will one day have a big talk show on a large platform.
Yes.
And,
You know
and
why? You know why? Because the way you're treating it now. You're treating it as if you have the big budgets behind it. And that's what I can appreciate. I know the spirit of excellence and what it looks like, and you got it all over you, right? The thing about it is that people have to understand the results that you have is based on what you're putting out. I'll never forget this statement. It's a statement that I read sometime, and it says, we don't see you don't see the way things are. You see them the way you are,
ah,
you know. And that is just bona fide truth. And so if you don't like the results that you're having, have a different perspective.
right. And I mean, if you watch the first episode, I used the camera that was on the computer because that's all we could have at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was grainy and it's very special looking. And now we've upgraded some things.
I
We have a
love
ring
it.
light now instead of the Target lamp that I was using before. So we
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
as we can do better, we do better. This is also a paid YouTube channel now. So YouTube does send checks, but
Good.
before they were not. So, it's just, baby steps, baby steps. And then, people ask, well, how do you get these guests? And I said, I mean, I think I've put in the work. I have done this since 2014, and I've put in the work. And then also, like you said, relationships.
Yes.
I know a few people, and they, like you mentioned that, when we were texting, you mentioned you knew Teddy Riley. Teddy
Yes.
Riley, I met him on Palm Sunday at church.
Oh
It was
wow.
it was Erica and Warren Campbell's church.
Mm.
Met him on Palm Sunday, and and I had been thinking I wanted him on the show. And my friend was like, "There's Teddy." I was like, "Oh my God, it is." And my friend, she is Tasha Scott. If anyone knows the fabulous movie True Beverly Hills, it's a
Yeah.
classic. She's the only black girl in it. And so she was who I was at church with. And so she's like, "Let's go talk to him." And so we go and talk to him. And I told him I wanted him to be on my show. The man gave me a card and said, "No, get your phone out. This is my phone number. You call me, but this is the card for my assistant. But you call
Wow.
me, and yes, I will do it." And the man showed up.
Amazing.
And so people are
Amazing.
like, "But how?" I said, "Because I just asked the question. I have enough balls enough to say,
Yeah.
would you please?" And Lisa Nichols was on the show, and people were like, "How did you get Lisa Nichols?" And I was like, I asked.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I met her and I asked. I
I
was
love
like,
it.
"Would you
I
do it?"
love it.
So, if you do things, and like I said, you can create anything. Because when I needed to create a show, I was like, "How do I do this?" I went to Google and figured it out.
Yeah. That is amazing, and thank you for sharing that story
Yeah.
because that has to be it's inspiring to me, so I know it has to be inspiring to others. Yeah, I like the fact that this is one of some of the biggest compliments I could ever receive as a music producer. People always ask me, when you did such a song, what studio were you at?
And you
And
can
they're
say yours.
and I tell them, I would say I was in my room, and they're blown away. They're blown away. What? You mean your house? Yes, in my house. In my house. You don't need. My grandfather used to say, you don't need a whole lot. Just use the little you got. And the thing about it is that the less that you have, the more creative you become.
Mhm. Mhm.
You have a chance to unleash something so great in you that really all you have to do is be in a room
Right.
and stare at a wall, blank, nothing, no distraction, and just use the imagination that's in your mind. You will have success like none other. And I tell you, uh,
So is this what you tell your children? He has 4 fabulous children. I'm sure
yes,
they're just as brilliant
yes,
as you.
yes, I love them to pieces. I have two teenagers in my house now,
Oh, wow.
a 13 and a 15-year-old, and they'll be 14 and 16. They have a teenager, and even tell my little ones, who is now 7, and one will be is or he'll be turning 7 in May, and then another one is 4. And so I'm thankful that I get to share with them, just like what I told you what my dad did with me. I'm
Mhm.
telling them what they are now, and I'm not even giving no room of error, but I'm really expressing to them the time factor that they have now. They don't have a bill, you know, they don't have a car note, don't have no phone. I
No
mean,
stresses.
no stresses at all. So use this time wisely to because my wife and I decided before they even started walking on this earth that we wasn't going to make them go to college. They can choose, but the thing that we were going to actually cause them to focus in on is their gift,
Whatever it is.
whatever it is, their trade, whatever it is, the thing that actually makes them special. Dr. Miles Monroe, and I'll leave off with this, has said this many years ago. He says, um, you know, and it was just right on the tip of my tongue, and it left me just like that.
I understand. It happens to me all the time.
Literally. Um, oh boy, I hate this. I hate this because it was just very good. Um, well,
Yeah.
whatever it is, it'll come back. At any rate, I'm very thankful that
Yeah.
we're at a moment in time to where we're being concerned with the next generation and them becoming whatever it is that they're supposed to be. Oh, that's what he said. He said there's 2 days in a most
Oh,
important days in a person's life: the day that they were born and the day they found out why. And whatever your why is, that needs to be your focus every single day of your life. And that's what I live by every day. So thank you for having me.
thank you so much. This was so awesome, you guys. I will see you guys again next week. And please make sure you share the video. And if you want to get in touch with me, you know how to find me. How can people find you online?
Yes, they can find me at Instagram, my name, DoRohn. Even on Facebook at DOROHN Gough. They can find me on our website, DOROHN Entertainment, or DOROHNENT.com, and uh, many other things, but those are the main ones
Okay,
for
let
sure.
me just throw your website up here. It's what is it? DOROHN Entertainment.
Yep, yep.
Um,
I just want to make sure I have it.
.com.
Hmm.
Add the banner. Okay. There you guys go. Please make sure you please follow him on Instagram. I've tagged him on my Instagram so you can easily find him as well. So please make sure you follow him and pay attention to all this great music. Deshandra, is that her name?
Yes,
Okay. That's who we need to pay attention to because she's the next hot thing coming out of Detroit.
that's right.
So I will see you guys next week. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me.